major news. I believe it's positive news. Could even be that this bill went through, a sign of God's favor after Donald Trump has so clearly stood with Jerusalem. That being said, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not strong in areas of economy and finance. That's why you virtually never hear me talk about that. It's not my area of strength. So you may have questions about it. So many others that could answer those questions better. But there are a whole lot of things where we can really be of help to you and answer your questions well. Number to call, 866-348-7884. Before I get into any of your calls, I saw something posted. Neil, I hope this brings a smile to your face. I was looking at my Twitter feed this morning and saw this posted by Neil. Dr. Michael Brown, this world is filled with bad news. Yet every time I listen to your podcast, I am encouraged because no matter the news, counter it with the good news, scripture, love, and truth. God bless you, brother, for helping to give us hope in all circumstances. Hey, Neil, I am blessed to do that. It is from the heart. It is because of the hope I live with 24/7 in the Lord. It's the least I can do to share that biblically based hope with others. Oh, yes, I sound the alarm. Oh, yes, I'm grieved and concerned over so much in the church and so much in the world around us. Yet, beyond all of that, I live with a burning hope because of the goodness of God, the promises of God, the fact that our God rules and reigns, the fact that Jesus is Lord, seated at the right hand of the Father. That's all I need to know. That gives me hope 24/7. Now, not everyone is as positive. In response to my video on YouTube about the UN asking, is it fulfilling prophecy, and commending Haley for the strong stand she took yesterday at the United Nations, Dave J. posted this on YouTube. You are in real danger, Dr. Brown. Stop thinking U.S. is this great place. We have been killers since the beginning of this godless country. Trump is everything a Christian should not be, and he revels in it. One L in revels. Not only that, Trump and all government mock Christians with these fake praise, I guess meaning fake prayers. You are becoming one of Trump's sycophant followers. First thing, you misspelled sycophant. First thing. Second thing, I am not in danger for being on the right side of God and history when it comes to Israel. And America, with all its faults, has a lot of good qualities as well that God has also used. And then there was this. In response to my article about the UN vote from John on Facebook. The U.S. was humiliated by that vote. Every decent country on the globe voted against the Zionist claim on Jerusalem and the American embassy. I replied, sir, your comment is allowed to stand because it does not violate our guidelines, but every word you wrote is 100% wrong. Lord, have mercy on you and help you to understand the difference between right and wrong, truth and error. He responded with F you, Neanderthal fascist, at which point he was blocked. All in a morning, all in a day on social media. Right back, going straight phones.
Baal. Baal, Lord, Master, Husband.
We're going to look at something really fascinating today in the Hebrew Bible, and it has to do with the word Baal. Now, you'll see this as a proper name, B-A-A-L. You normally pronounce it Baal. And you know him as a false deity, a false god worshipped by the Canaanites, sometimes worshipped by the Israelites. But the name itself, Baal, is the Hebrew Baal, and Baal simply means Lord or Master. In fact, there are old Israelite names with Baal, and they were referring to Yahweh, him being Lord, him being Master. So you have, for example, the name of Jonathan's son, the grandson of Saul. What's he called? He's called Mephibaal, Mi-Pi-Baal, from the mouth of Baal, meaning from the mouth of the Lord, Yahweh. But centuries later, when Baal was only associated with the pagan deity, what's his name called in Hebrew? It's changed to Mephibosheth, Mephibosheth, which means from the mouth of shame. So originally Baal could refer to Yahweh. He was Lord, he was Master, he was God. But when it primarily referred to the false God, the false deity, then God said, no more. We don't want that name on your lips. So when you get to the book of Hosea, Baal also means husband in Hebrew, and the Lord was the Baal, the husband of Israel. But because Baal became associated with the false deity, God said, you're no longer going to call me Baali, my husband, because this Baal word is associated with this false deity. This gives you explanation why the names changed and what Hosea was talking about.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown. Get into the Line of Fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Let's do it. Time to go to the phones, 866-348-7884. You've got questions. We've got answers. Start in Ames, Iowa. Evan, welcome to the broadcast.
Actually, correction, that's Heather.
Heather, okay. How did we get
Okay.
Evan?
I don't know. Basically, I'm a transgender woman, and I identify also as a evangelical Christian. Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior. Well, I am also a conservative, and I discovered that I get a lot more hate from LGBT activists than the other way around. Frankly, because I find this to be like a common ground to communities on ground, or am I just going up an uphill, impossible battle?
Yeah, sure. So let me just make sure I properly understand. You are born biologically male, but you identify as female. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how far have you gone in your identification? I'm just asking for my own understanding. Have sex change surgery, hormones, or just a state of mind for you?
Right now, I am currently consulting with surgeons about the surgery that's been that 2 years out.
Okay, but you've been on hormones, I would take it, for some time?
Correct.
All right, and you dress as a woman.
Correct.
Right. And I'm only asking this for understanding and for the sake of my listeners as well. And also, just to be clear, uh, just take a moment. We don't have time for you to share everything that you'd want to share, but how is it that you don't feel that this is in conflict with your faith as a conservative evangelical Christian?
I separate gender identity from sexual orientation. I think a lot of the confusion is because transgender is included with the
Yes.
homosexual community, and I think
Mhm.
it's a huge mistake. And I know there are a lot of independent thinking transgender people and even intersex people that want to have a separation from the gay activist.
Right. And of course, it goes both ways in that there are those gay and lesbian activists who feel that they don't want to take on the battle gender identity. So we would let's agree on a few things. We recognize there's a category called intersex, where someone has a biological or chromosomal abnormality, which may make their sexuality, even their biological sex, perhaps ambiguous. And that's one category. In your case, you are unambiguously a biological male, but you feel deeply that you are actually female. So am I defining those things to your satisfaction?
Correct.
Okay. Now, may I also ask to whom you are attracted romantically, physically, males or females?
Right. Basically, it was male. But I'm currently single. So I'm not acting decided not to act on any impulses or
Okay.
feelings one way or the other, because I just felt that it'd be better until like the full transition to figure out sexuality.
Okay. But all right. So let's say this. All right. Even though this is not exactly what you're saying, let's say this. Let's say that you said, okay, I understand I can't be in a relationship now, physical, romantic relationship with someone. So I'm living a celibate life for the Lord. It's not exactly what you're saying, but I want to say it like this. Okay. And you come to me and say, can we find common ground? Well, I would look at you, and can I be totally candid?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sure you've been through enough rejection and pain, so I'm not trying to beat up on you in any way. I'm speaking with passion. I would look at you as someone very sincere and yet confused. I would look at you as someone very sincere, hurting in a way that I can't relate to, struggling with something I've never struggled with. So no condemnation, no saying you're a weak person or something like that. But I would look at you as very confused, saying, God, in fact, did make you a man. Every bit of your DNA and hundreds and thousands of other things within you that God has made say that you are actually male. That it's either deception from the enemy or the confusion of our society, certain things in your own life experience or upbringing have caused you to feel like you're a woman, but you're not. And I'm not going to deny your faith in Jesus. I'm not going to say that if you were to die right now, that you're damned to hell. God is your judge. God is my judge. I would do my best to meet you where you are and to disciple you out of female identity, to affirm who God made you, and that you would recognize there's a false construct from the world, that this whole gender is different than biology, that there are multiple genders, or we are who we perceive ourselves to be. Back to scripture and say God has categories, male and female. Again, there
Yeah.
are people who don't neatly fall in that intersex, but that's just like saying God made us to see, God made us to hear, but there's some people with defects where they can't see and hear well. So I would my goal would be to take you where you were and to help disciple you into a place of freedom where you felt whole within your own skin, where you didn't have to take hormones to go against biology that God put in you, or to take perfectly healthy parts of your body and to change them, any more than I'd want you to cut off a leg or an arm if you're suffering from body identity integrity disorder, some refer to as transabled. That would be my position. And I would work with you based on the condition of your heart. If I saw that you differed with me, but you were open and that you really wanted to please the Lord and honor God, and your position was, Lord, whatever you want, I want to honor you. You're saying to me, I want to be true to. Then I hopefully stay with you through thick and thin till you came to a place where you were at home in the body that God gave you. If I found that your purpose was to sow discord among others, try to preach LGBT activism, or that you didn't really care about what the Lord Jesus had to say because you know what you know, how you feel, then I wouldn't be able to help. That would be my
Yeah.
position. And I'm glad that you found more love, perhaps, Christians than from LGBT activists, only because, at the very least, those who claim to be followers of Jesus should be meeting you with love wherever you are.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I think a lot of the LGBT community, there's much enforced uh, dogma, LGBT dogma on the community. Like you're mentioning the whole multiple genders. That's even controversial in the transgender community because the idea of like you could be no gender and
right. Or multiple genders.
claiming
Right.
yeah. And I was like, the term that would negate the term bisexual because bi means two. If there's multiple genders, then no one can be bisexual.
Have you followed the story of Walt Heyer, by the way?
I'll have to look.
Oh, okay.
No.
Tell you what, he was a married man with kids, and tormented for years. Was convinced that he was trapped in the wrong body. Ultimately, had sex change surgery, and after years, realized that there were really other areas in his life where he was struggling, And when he got those fixed, and it was in relationship with the Lord, he realized that he actually was male, that's how God had made him. So he reversed whatever he could and got off hormones and happily married to a woman now. And in point of fact, he's got a great ministry helping people. I was just looking at a comment on YouTube. Thanks, DG, for posting that. He mentioned, or he or she mentioned, that they knew someone struggled with this for years, and then with the help of a Christian counselor, and with God working in their life, they're free and whole. I'd encourage you to visit this website. Jot it down: sexchangeregret.com. Sexchangeregret.com. Go there, explore it, and then please do this one thing, all right? Go to the Lord and say, God, I just want your will. You may have done this 1,000 times before, but I just want to ask you one more time. And hey, everybody listening, watching, could you agree prayer right now? Go to the Lord and say, God, I embrace your will, whatever it is. I just want your will. If in fact you made me a man, I'm thinking wrongly, understanding things wrongly, I will embrace being a man and follow you as a male. I just need your help. Help me to be whole from the inside out. Please do that. Go to sexchangeregret.com. And if you don't mind, in a month or so, just send a note to our website, askdrbrown.org. Let us know how you're doing. Will you do that? We're praying for you. Thank you. You don't need a PhD to know that our world is in serious trouble. All it takes is one glance at your social media feed to see that we're at a critical time, not just in our nation's history, but in world history. And this generation of believers is facing an unprecedented barrage of attacks against the truth of the gospel. And they're coming from 1,000 different directions. If ever there was a time for the body to speak out, to raise a righteous standard, and to be a beacon of hope in the midst of a sea of despair, now is that time. Through preaching and teaching and radio and writing and social media, God's given us a voice. I mean, by His grace, many, many lives have been impacted for the gospel around the world. So it's for that reason I want to take you behind the scenes here at Ask Dr. Brown, let you know about some of the exciting projects we're involved in, and share with you how you can help us fulfill this great mandate from the Lord in this battle for the hearts and minds of a whole generation. Over the last several months, our studio has undergone a massive overhaul. We have put thousands of dollars into revamping what is basically our command central. This studio is not just used to produce the Line of Fire radio broadcast, but we also produce in this studio hundreds of YouTube videos that you see, as well as our media for other ministry outlets like God TV and NRB TV. So this studio is really the heartbeat of everything, all the media that we produce at Ask Dr. Brown. And now we are ready to step into a whole new realm, and we can do it with your help. So I'm asking you today to partner with us. Through your generous donations, we can fulfill this mandate from the Lord in this battle for the hearts and minds of a whole generation, and you can help amplify my voice. Friends, stand with us today. Together, we're making a difference.
It's the Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown. Get into the Line of Fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
I sent out this note right before the show started. Yeah. For those who want to follow the truth and avoid controversy, think again. I tweeted this out. Fallen world full of lies. There's nothing more controversial than the truth. Speak it and live it boldly, regardless of cost or consequences. Hey, I hope the caller I just spoke with, I hope you're still listening. Thank you for calling. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And you have a lot of people praying for you that never knew your name, never knew you before. They're praying for you, all right? And we do want to hear from you. So that website, sexchangeregret.com. I encourage you to go there with an open heart. God's going to help you. You throw yourself on Him and your weakness. You say, you don't understand. You understand, Dr. Brown. I can't. That's a good place to start. Throw yourself on God in your weak. God, I can't. I don't know what to do. I don't know any other way. Will help you. Look to Him. 866 34 Truth. Let us go to Kim in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Thanks for calling the Line of Fire.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. My question is coming from Hebrews 12, chapter 2, where it says Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith.
Yeah.
My question is, does he finish that work here on earth, or is this a process that goes through all of eternity?
Well, that is a wonderful question. And in context, it's talking about our life in this world, right? He's the one who starts the work, brings it to completion. My deep hope, not in Mike Brown's faithfulness, but in the Lord's faithfulness. And for example, Philippians 1, Paul writes, he who began the good work will bring it to completion, day of Christ. And 1 Corinthians 1 gives a similar sentiment that the Lord who started this work will bring it to completion, return of Jesus. So in a sense, sir, we can say that it is the finished work he does in this world. Notice, while we need the help, while we're still in the body, while there's still temptation and a devil around us, so he is one who authors our faith and brings it to completion. That being said, it's certainly not exhausted in the world to come. You know what I mean? That forever and ever and ever we'll be learning more about God, and I imagine in different ways we'll be growing. It's not that there's going to be sin or immaturity, but I think we'll be growing forever and ever and ever in the Lord, in the knowledge of the Lord, in our exploration of who He is. And in that sense, Jesus is always the one perfecting, completing what He started. But in context, in light of other New Testament writings, I believe the focus is in this world, starting it, bringing it to completion when Jesus returns.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Brown.
You are very welcome. 866-348-7884. Let's go over to George in Duncan, South Carolina. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Good afternoon, Dr. Brown. The last video with your all that you're doing. My first time having the opportunity to call in.
Great.
And I wanted to ask you about John chapter 7, verse 8, where Jesus is talking to his brothers about the feast and tells them he's not going up, but then in verse he does go up and follow that. I wonder if you could explain what.
Yeah, so some claim that he was absolutely being deceitful. So let's just read it in context. So after this, Jesus traveled throughout Galilee. He stayed out of Judea because the Jewish leaders wanted to kill him. By the way, in some of the texts in John, you'll see translated Jews wanted to. It's really speaking of Judean leaders. In most of these contexts, Jewish leaders. Sometimes it's Jews generically, but the word Jew can mean Judean people more broadly. So Jewish leaders is a good way to translate it, because the common people thought he was a prophet, widely believed. Now the Jewish Feast of Tabernacles was near, so Jewish brothers advised him, leave here, go to Judea so your disciples may see your miracles that you're performing, for no one who seeks to make a reputation for himself does anything in secret. You're doing these things, show yourself to the world. Not even his own brothers believed in him. Jesus replied, my time has not yet arrived, but you are ready at any opportunity. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I am testifying about it that its deeds are evil. You go up to the feast yourselves. I'm not going up to this feast, because my time has not yet fully arrived. He said this, he remained in Galilee, but when his brothers had gone up to the feast, then Jesus also went up, but not openly, but in secret. So, number one, was he being deceitful? The first thing in terms of his reply is he was as forthright as he could be. He was not doing what the brothers wanted him to do. So the brothers had this expectation that you can, if you think you're this, great miracle worker, Messiah, prophet, famous figure, go and show yourself. Get all the PR you can. Well, it wasn't his time, and he was not out for PR. And in certain ways, he needed to be more hidden until that time came for him to be fully revealed and then crucified. So first and foremost, he is 100% being honest, telling them, no, I'm not out to do things the way you want them done. That's not my MO, not my purpose here. That's not what I'm doing. That's number one. Two, he did have a plan to go up, but just not at that time. And if he told them, well, I'm going later or I'm going secretly, obviously they could have tried to make trouble for him. So as long as I understand him saying, I'm not going up in the way that you want me to. I'm not going up to make a public display middle of the feast. It's not my time, so I'm not going. You go. And then secretly goes, yeah, that's consistent with me. That's consistent in terms of, here, look at it like this. Let's say you are a player on a team. Say you're a player on the NFL and it's a big game, right? And you're in rehab, but everyone say, come on, you should be there. You should be out on the sidelines. You say, no, I'm not going to the game. If I go to the game, it's going to be a distraction. No, you should be. No, I can't be there. It's going to be a distraction. And plus, the coaches have told me, rehab people, you don't want to get in public around people. You're going to get jostled. So I'm not going, you go. And after everybody goes, secretly, you have someone drive you and you watch in the back of the stadium from a secret monitor. I don't feel like you've lied or deceived by saying I'm not going to the game. So that's my take on it. And again, the other thing to remember is that the Gospels are not going to intentionally present Jesus as being a liar or a deceiver or a sinner. These are written by his disciples who love him and honor him and are presenting him truthfully for who he was, the way, the truth. So that's how I understand it forthrightly. They wanted him to go to the feast a certain way, do a certain thing. He said, no, I'm not going. It's not me. It's not my time. It's not my style. And secretly, he goes a little bit later and out of the crowd so that it is going for different purposes. And again, that's my best way of understanding it, to be true to the text and not try to read it. Hey, got a break, but sir, thanks for being a regular listener. Thanks for calling in for the first time. We'll be right back with the rest of your calls.
On the program today is Dr. Michael Brown. Good to have you on, sir.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
Yeah, it's good to have you on again, I should say. When it comes to this whole idea of the marriage crisis that we're in as a culture, should we capitulate at this time? I mean, what do you think our stance should be as a church as it relates to marriage?
Yeah, this is not the time to capitulate or throw in the towel. This is the time to push back. The Supreme Court ruling on marriage, that's our Roe v. Wade moment. This is our wake-up call. Look, when the Roe v. Wade passed, there was tremendous hostility to the pro-life position in America. And we were told it's over, the younger generation embraces abortion. Look at how things have radically changed. 1966, April, cover story, Time magazine, Is God Dead? 5 years later, June 1971, cover story, Time magazine, The Jesus Revolution. Things can turn on a dime. Things can turn radically. I believe that gay activism has within itself the seeds of self-destruction. Once you redefine marriage, you render it meaningless. The further this goes, the ones who are going to be standing are the ones who hold to marriage and family as God intended. So rather than this being the end of the culture wars, this is the wake-up call. This is the beginning. And I believe that unless Jesus comes first, we're going to see the tide turn.
Activist, author, international speaker, and theologian, Dr. Michael Brown. Your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Get into the line of fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Line of Fire. It is December 22nd. It is the day before our second daughter, our younger daughter, her birthday. I wrongly posted birthday greetings today. Why? Well, we spent some time with the family last night, day before her birthday. It was originally supposed to be tonight. Going to do it. I had it in my mind as the day before her birthday. Woke up thinking, oh, I don't want to forget birthday greetings, and posted them on Facebook. And my faithful bride, Nancy, said, what's today's date? Day early, but happy birthday day early. All right, you've got questions. We've got answers. 866-34-TRUTH. My profound joy, really from the heart, to be here with you. take your calls, answer your questions. And with that, we go straight to the phones. Let's go to Monty in Pryor, Oklahoma. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Brown. I had a question regarding Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. I had listened to your debates with Don Preston recently.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive. I liked hearing both of your sides to it. I'm kind of leaning towards like a partial preterist post-millennial view, but I don't like the fact that kind of does away with the Jewish people. I have a big heart for the Jews, so I don't like that aspect of it, you know. So I want to know what you thought about the first verse of Revelation, where it says, the revelation from Jesus Christ, which God gave to show his servants what must soon take place.
Yeah, so I have no question. And just for bearing for folks, Dr. Don Preston is a preterist, full preterist scholar. He is very learned in his field. There are some preterists, partial preterists, who consider his views too far gone, even heretical. And for example, he denies there's a future resurrection, believers of dead, etc. You know, that some would argue we're already in the days of the new heavens and the new earth. But I respect him as a scholar in holds to. So we did a couple of debates. Romans 11, Israel shall be saved and full to the Gentiles. So first, everything I believe can be held with historic view of the book of Revelation. In other words, if the book of Revelation was written to the early church, primarily to the early church alone, and it's no problem. It's apocalyptic literature. There's no question whatsoever that we are not living in a new heaven and a new earth now. There's no question whatsoever that we are living in a day when there's no more pain or tears or death, okay? There's no question that we are not living in a day in which Satan has been utterly and completely vanquished and sin is not exploding all over the world. So that much is clear. So I have no problem because of the nature of the book of Revelation. The first three chapters very specifically apply to the early church. And there's much wherever we date it, even if someone dated it before the destruction of Jerusalem, which I don't, but even if they did in the year 70, that's totally secondary to me. Everything I believe in terms of God's purposes works just the same in a premillennial reading of the text. Revelation is apocalyptic literature filled with symbolism. Now, here's the thing. Everything else in Revelation, the whole book still has to have relevance to the whole body. Otherwise, why is it there? And there are certainly things that only apply uniquely to the end of the world. But what is unmistakable in Scripture is that God will restore the kingdom to a physical Israel on this earth. It's unmistakable. The question of the disciples in Acts 1:6, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel, which Jesus is not rebuked, just it's not for you to know the times and seasons the Father set by his authority. And I'm going to do it, it's not for you to know. You focus on preaching the gospel. To the promises of Jesus in Matthew 19, he speaks of the regeneration of all things when the disciples will be reigning over the 12 tribes of Israel. To Acts 3, where Peter says that the time spoken of by the prophets must be fulfilled. All things must be fulfilled. That's when Jesus returns. So at that point, words of the prophets are fulfilled, and that's when we have the millennial rule of the Lord. So I have no problem with wherever someone dates the book of Revelation. It's ultimately not going to affect my final understanding of all of the other verses. Stay right there. I want to take one more moment. We'll be right back. It's been a beautiful spring day in the suburbs of Pennsylvania on this Thursday, June 7th, 1961. You just got home from work and your wife's almost finished preparing one of her typically delicious dinners. Tonight is TV night and everybody's ready to enjoy Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver. Of course, a live in-person show is incredible. Who could forget your family outing 2 weeks ago when you all drove into Manhattan and saw My Fair Lady on Broadway? But TV has its own unique appeal, especially with shows like Lassie and Andy Griffith and Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color and Father Knows Best and the Flintstones. And they're all on at night so the whole family can enjoy them together. Well, on this lovely spring night, you're a bit more tired than you realize, fighting to stay awake through the current Beaver episode, even though it's a bit more suspenseful than normal. But this night, you doze off just before the end of the program, and when you wake up a few minutes later, everything's changed. Well, the TV's still there, except it's giant now, flat, hanging on a wall, exploding with colors, and instead of the smiling Cleaver family, it's... No, this can't be real. A nude couple going on their first date? What's happening? In a panic, you look for another channel, quickly figuring out how to use the newfangled remote control you now hold in your hands, but your eyes can't believe what you're seeing. Did I wake up in hell? But something else is different when you look around the room. You're the only one there. Your 15-year-old son is out with his best friend Robbie, who used to be called Robin, back when he was a girl, along with Robbie's 17-year-old brother. They went to see a new movie in the Hostel series where people are tortured to death and mutilated for fun, but hey, at least he's out of the house. Better than playing Grand Theft Auto for 6 straight hours where your boy's raping women and killing cops on his video screen. Suddenly you wake up with a start. This was all a dream. With relief, you look around at your wonderful family smiling at their dad who fell asleep in the middle of TV night, and you think to yourself, thank God, this was only a bad dream. There's no way America or my family could ever look like that.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Thanks, friends, for joining us on The Line of Fire. 866-34-TRUTH, the number to call. Hey, Monty, I just wanted to take one more moment. I'm hoping the years ahead that I'll be able to write a major book on refuting preterism and why I see some of the real dangers with it, full preterism in particular. And again, for those listening not familiar with this, preterist just means past. So a preterist, a full preterist, believes that all the promises about the second coming, the return of Jesus, they have all already come to pass. They are past. This is a preterist view of things. A partial preterist would see many of the prophecies coming to pass with the destruction of Jerusalem, but others still future. I see that as less dangerous. But can I ask you one question, Monty? When Paul wrote to Timothy, talked about all those who longed for the appearing of Jesus, do you think he was talking about all those who longed for the destruction of
No, that's why I have a problem with. That's why I'm kind of hesitant with the view.
Got it. So here I think is the better thing. A preterist would say, look at all the verses where Jesus says, I'm coming soon, and I'm coming quickly. But look at all those verses. Now, on the one hand, the fact that it was 40 years after the crucifixion of Jesus before the destruction of Jerusalem, many would think, well, that's not quickly, because most of the apostles were dead already at that point, and Jerusalem still hadn't been restored. But nowhere is there any hint whatsoever in the New Testament that what we're looking forward to, Paul speaking of 1 Corinthians 15, the last trump. Remember, the last trump is the last one, right? When we're going to be glorified, when the dead in Messiah will be raised and will be changed in incorruptible bodies. 1 Thessalonians 4, the same thing, the trumpet blast, right? And Revelation 11 speaks of the seventh trumpet, which is the last of 7. That's when the kingdoms of this world become the God Messiah. So it's when he returns that happens. Demonstrably, under every possible way of looking at this, we have not yet been physically glorified. We have not entered into incorruptible bodies. We are not like Jesus in that respect in glorified bodies. All those promises haven't come to pass. Everything we were told to look forward to hasn't come to pass. So possibly you could say some verses, talking about the coming quickly meant coming quickly judgment, possibly. But that in no way whatsoever takes away, and I don't even accept that, but even if I did on some of those verses, okay, that has nothing to do with all the promises about his appearing, glorious appearing, and what we're looking forward to. 2 Peter 3 saying at that point, that there's going to be a transformation of the heavens and the earth and elements melting with fire, and none of that's happened. And to me, to try to understand a few verses here that say coming quickly, etc., and then people debate exactly what quickly means, or is this always the judge is always at the door, could come at any moment? Is that what it means? Take that, stacked it up on one side, let's say it's an inch high. Now you got about 100 feet high of all the other things that the Bible says are going to happen with the second coming at the end of the age. Like, I'm not going to throw those out for that inch of verses. That's one of my big issues. And again, when you have a whole Bible before you get to Jesus with the Hebrew Scriptures, absolutely clearly affirming God's plans and purposes for Israel and guaranteeing that they will happen and all nations will one day come streaming to Jerusalem to learn from the God of Israel. and Paul reaffirming the calling on Israel unequivocally in Romans the 11th chapter. I'm not going to let anything take that. I'm not going to let anything threaten that. And then the other verses, we'll do our best to understand them fairly and rightly. So I just wanted to throw that extra thing in and encourage you to be extremely cautious stepping in this direction. All right?
Awesome. I appreciate your help and your.
You bet. Thank you, sir. God bless you, Monty. 866-34-TRUTH. We go to our friend Scott in Winston-Salem. How you doing today?
Hi, that's running pretty good.
All right.
This Christmas. I had a quick question. I got a brother that's married to a divorced woman.
Uh-huh.
And if I could bear a minute, the verse that I worry about is Luke 16, verse 18,
Yep.
where it says, anyone who divorces his wife marries someone else commits adultery.
Yep.
And anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Does that mean they're spiritually dead who married a second time? Or?
Yeah, so there are some who would give you an unequivocal answer, say absolutely they're in sin, they're in adultery, they need to repent. I cannot give you that answer as unequivocal. Number one, we would all agree one was divorced and her first husband originally died, and everyone would agree she's free to remarry. Okay? Doesn't matter whether the divorce was valid or not. He's dead, it's over. Now she's free to remarry. So assuming that's not the case, assuming someone was divorced, first husband is still living, I would say for sure, divorce was a sinful divorce, meaning there was no possible biblical justification for it. Let's just say, all right, hopefully this is not the case. Let's say this woman, we'll call her Sally. Let's call your brother Bill. Sally was married to John. Sally fell in love with Bill. Sally divorced John to marry Bill. They're living in adultery. Not that they have a marriage, something that says they're married. They're living in adultery. That's an adulterous relationship. Let's say Sally's married to John, loves the Lord, turns away from God. He rejects her as wife. He moves in with another woman, lives in adultery with her, divorces her, and then goes on, starts a new family. Some would say it doesn't matter as long as he is alive. First husband's alive, John's still alive. Sally cannot remarry. I understand Jesus' words in Matthew 5, Matthew 19, saying that there can be a divorce because of sexual immorality here, adultery. And 1 Corinthians 7 saying if the unbeliever departs, that the not bound. I understand that. She could remarry, in which case the marriage could be valid and could be blessed in God's sight. Division in the church, some would say that's against the church view through almost all of history. Others would say you go back to the first century context, this in keeping with it. So I'd encourage you to pray, look at Matthew 5 and Matthew 19 as well, and ask the Lord for wisdom and insight, and pray for them that whatever God's will and best is, that they embrace it. That's where we just have to leave it. I don't know more about the situation than that. It's not appropriate for go into further details about it, especially another speaking. Read those other passages, Matthew 5, Matthew 19. Some say, well, they can't contradict Luke 16. Others say, well, you have to put them together. Work that through. Pray about it. And pray for them. God, your best. Your best for them. May they walk in full. That's how I would handle it. Thank you for the call and the concern. 866-34-TRUTH. Let us go to John in Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hey, Dr. Brown.
Hello.
So I'm
Great.
so definite. Why does the versus Genesis 5:20 take the definite God?
Yep. So first thing, if you have a name, a personal name, right? So Scripture is not going to say the Justin, the Michael. Now Greek can do that, but Hebrew won't. Okay. Greek, you can
Okay.
have the in front of someone's name, Michael or just Michael. But Hebrew, you wouldn't do that. You would say Ha-Michael, say Michael. However, when it comes to a noun, case Elohim can either mean God with a capital G, or it can mean gods with a small g. It can go either way. Ha-Elohim, the God, or Elohim, God with a capital G. Either is perfectly acceptable, grammatically correct. Again, because it is simply a noun, it is not a name. So you're not saying the name God, you're saying this being God. So Yahweh, which is the covenantal name of the Lord, most likely pronounced Yahweh, you never have Ha in front of that. Ha being the for those Hebrew. So you never have Ha Yahweh, never. Because that would be a mistake because it's the proper name. But Elohim just being a noun, you can either say Elohim, speaking of God with a capital G, or Ha Elohim, the God speaking of God with a capital G. It's out the same. The meaning is the same either way. But if you wanted to say the Lord, He is God, for emphasis, you could say He is the God, to make that absolute. So not before a name, but when it comes to a noun, you could have the definite article or not. Either way, the overall is the same. Just said Ha Elohim, though, that makes it even more clear, speaking about the one true God, unless the context is idols. Say the gods of the nations are not gods at all. You'd say Ha Elohim, meaning the gods, plural, of the nations are not gods at all. All right, hope that's helpful. Otherwise, talk to David Rudolph at the King's University for help. I want to present to you a unique way that you can partner together with me to reach Jewish people with the good news of Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah. Hey, Paul wrote that the gospel is to the Jew first, but many of us don't know how to reach the Jewish people with the gospel. Can I tell you, we have a unique open door and Jewish people are ready to hear, but we need your help. When I was in Israel recently, my last hour in Jerusalem, about a dozen different people came up to me and they wanted to thank me for the impact of our message. One Jewish woman came up to me, a believer in Jesus. She said, "You saved my son's life. He was falling away. He was getting pulled by other objections to Jesus. He read your material. He's back in the faith." A young man came up to me. He said he and his Orthodox Jewish friends, here he is, I mean, with the yarmulke, the head covering, the traditional Jewish outfit, he said he and his Jewish friends, his Orthodox friends, watch my debates with rabbis. A few years ago, I was able to lead a Holocaust survivor to faith in Jesus. He was a brilliant man, an atheist who had fled the Holocaust. He read my books on answering Jewish objections to Jesus, came to faith, led his wife to the Lord before they left this world. Friends, we have the resources. We have books ready to be translated in Hebrew to be distributed in Israel. We have our Real Messiah website, unique for reaching Jewish people, Orthodox Jews with the gospel, ready to be translated in Hebrew, ready to do internet campaigns to get into every home in Israel. Every cell phone in Israel can have this message, but we need your help. Every gift to our ministry will literally help us reach another Jewish person with the good news of Jesus the Messiah. Go to askdrbrown.org. AskDrBrown.org, and when you go there, we will partner together to bring salvation to Israel and the Jewish people. Together, we're making a great difference.
Now is the time to reach the lost sheep of the house of Israel, to share in this end-time harvest of Jewish souls, and to find out how to receive this 2-DVD set, Predestination, Election, and the Will of God Debate. Go to AskDrBrown.org and click the TV banner.
Is Dr. Michael Brown.
Hey, let me just remind all of you that we have thousands of hours of free resources for you. The AskDrBrown.org digital library, AskDrBrown.org digital library. Thousands. Talking about articles, talking about videos, talking about our radio archives, sermons, tons and tons and tons of stuff on the website available for you. Debates. Yeah, that we've got lots of things you can purchase, our books and DVDs and TV series. Also got thousands of hours of free material. Thank you. A shout out, year-end thank you to all of our torchbearers, all of our monthly supporters. Thank you for helping to make this possible. I just saw Lila Rose tweeted this out, and I retweeted it 41 minutes ago. Breaking news, Ohio Governor John Kasich signs bill banning abortions on babies with Down syndrome. Whoa, this is major. This is major. Watch the controversy that swirls around that. Well done, Governor Kasich. Wow. 866-34-TRUTH. You say, so you're gonna make a mother give birth to a child with Down syndrome? First thing, despite the challenges that come with that from what I learned speaking to other parents whose kids have Down syndrome, overwhelmingly families are very positive, saying that the child with Down syndrome is added much to the family. Generally speaking, children, to the extent they're can convey whether they're happy to be here, they're happy to be here. Not only so, all kinds, plenty of kids with all kinds of issues, problems, kill them once they come out because they don't line up to our standards. And by the way, there are people that will gladly adopt a baby with Down. Gladly. Yeah. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go to Lakeland, Florida. Barbara, welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hello, Dr. Brown.
Hello.
My question has upcoming, especially with much in the news today. Most people think balance. I wonder what your thoughts are. Things about perhaps it's not on some other local buy on something.
Yeah, so there is speculation. There are some who claim that the temple, that there will be a third temple built, but it will not be built right next to the Dome of the Rock. Now, in fact, you'd have to move the Dome of the Rock to build it, and natural, that's an unthinkable thing. I mean, you talk about a world war, something like that would happen, and Israel would never dream doing that and triggering a war like that. Bill Richardson has a theory that this is why there'll be an Islamic Antichrist. One of the reasons that he'll be able to barter this, and that's why Israel will follow him also, because he'll be able to barter so that Israel can have the Dome of the Rock area and tear it down and build their temple. But bottom line, Barbara, I'm not at all persuaded by the arguments the temple should be somewhere else. So built. I'm not at all convinced by the arguments that it should be somewhere else. Everything I know historically, archaeologically, no, temple was and it is an area known as that's where it would be rebuilt, built before Jesus returns and happen. So I'm not at all convinced. Best scholarship I know, the best archaeology, the best history, best that I know says that rightly understand the. So by all means, keep studying that. I just would not put a whole lot of stock into it. It's not that there's a conspiracy against it. It'd be very easy to find another place. Just that the best scholarship is against it. All right, thank you for asking. 866-34-TRUTH. We go to Fort Worth, Texas. Maggie, welcome to the Line of Fire. Margie, just so everybody knows, if you're watching, I have monitors here. That we have other monitors in the as we're doing videotape and audio at the same time. But I'm nearsighted. Monitors are a certain distance that I can read everything, see the comments, but it's the slightest drop blurry. No, but it's just when I looked, it's clearly Margie as I look again. But anyway, so you ever see me squinting, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, Margie, Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome to the Line of Fire. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want.
Yes.
I was married. That I was good. They thought they would. So I married. We were married for 6.5 years. And had about sex. Okay, so started. And it was started running. I didn't.
Yeah, but by the way, I don't want to rush because I know this is your story,
well,
which
I
is
told
important,
you
but
I
we're
wasn't
real
making
short on time. I want to make sure we hear what you're saying. So please go ahead.
Okay, well, he started running around. I found a lot about it. Testing. Taught him with. Lord told me, what are you going to do? And so I prayed all night long. Got me up, asking. So the next told him, straighten up. Well, I stayed on for 3 months and didn't come home half twice a week. And I just kept on praying for him. But I was back with my.
Tell you what, we've only got a minute before the show's
Okay, well,
out, and
anyway,
folks won't
what
know
I'm
what you're saying.
is,
So, it's the end of the story.
He is a curse. So I felt as I stood there, I just almost felt like the woman.
Yeah.
I just
So did you end up
removed.
getting a divorce?
I did, and I was married that woman. I was my wonderful husband.
And how long have you been married? How long have you been married now?
We were married for 40 years. Passed away 5 years.
All right, so friends, I just got to jump in. Margie, I'm so sorry I had to interrupt, but I needed to. Margie's saying is her view and her understanding, her walk with God, that there was a valid reason. Of course, God blessed marriage for 40 years, and hear that. Thank you for calling in. Hey, friends, take a moment. Go here to this website, gofundme.com/Ask Dr. Brown Studio. There's a 2-minute video there. Watch it when you can. GoFundMe.com, Ask Dr. Brown Studio. Have a blessed Christmas.